Okay, if you remember in chapter 10, or 9, excuse me, we didn't just do factoring, we also solved for x. So once we got to this point, we set each factor equal to 0 and found out what x was. Remember? Say yes, Mrs. Burgess, we remember. Yes, we do. Okay, well, it's kind of a lot of work to factor and set each factor equal to 0. We're going to learn a different way, a new easy way to solve quadratic equations. It's a different method, other than the box and diamond and all that. Okay? Completing the square. That's what it's called. It's called creating a perfect square trinomial so that you can take the square root of each side and solve. Wait a minute. Time out. Didn't you just do that on this homework assignment? Didn't you just, wherever I put it, where did I put it? Didn't you just take the square root of each side and solve? Remember? On that homework? I don't know where I put it. Here it is. Right here. Isn't that what you were doing right here? Taking the square root of each side and solving? Yeah. And that's where you're going to end up. Same kind of thing. Okay? That's why we do this first. So, here, this is kind of the steps that you take. You take this and you make it into this. Well, what did I do from here to here? What did I do? I subtracted c and left a blank spot. Then you replace the c that you moved with half of b squared. Now, we're going to go through this so you don't have to know how to do it right now. These are just the steps. Then you have completed the square by making a perfect square trinomial you can use to solve. I will show you how. Trust me. Okay? Here we go. All right, so we're not going to do it all at once. We're going to do bit by bit. First it says, find the value of c that makes the expression a perfect square trinomial. Then write the expression as a square of a binomial, which I just showed you. That's the square of a binomial. Okay, this is doing step 2 from above. So we're doing step 2 here. We're going to replace the c with b cut in half squared. So, I'm going to rewrite x squared plus 8x. I'm going to put the plus sign, and I'm going to replace the c with that. Where's my b? What number is my b? 8. What's half of 8? 4. So I'm just going to write it out for now. Squared. So I replaced the c with half of b squared, and I'll show you why. If we make that pretty, it looks like this. Yeah? I just divided 8 by 2. Then I have to write the, make a perfect square trinomial, so I'm actually going to do it like this, x squared plus 8x plus 16. That's the perfect square trinomial, because 16 is a perfect square. And that's what I'm always creating when I make a new c. That's what I'm always creating. Then the last thing I have to do is write it as a square of a binomial. So the first part of my binomial is going to be the square root of that, which is x. The second part is going to be the square root of 16, which is what? And it's plus, plus, so what goes in here? Plus squared. Square of a binomial. Now, we'll do more, don't worry. But what I want you to notice, first of all, is take a look what I wrote here. After I took half of it, what number is that? 4, right? What number is this? 4. Keep that in mind. Just keep it in mind, okay? Let's do another one. I'm going to replace c. So I'm going to keep x squared minus 12x, and I'm going to add in half of b, which is what? Negative 6. Okay? So I'm going to put that there, and I'm squaring it. Half of b squared. Oh, well, it's asking me to write it as a perfect square trinomial, so I'm just going to do negative 6 times negative 6, which is what? 36. So there's my perfect square trinomial. Because 36 is a perfect square. But now I have to write it as the square of a binomial? I know the square root of x squared is x. What are some square roots of 36? What's the square root of 36? Or what? Yeah, or negative 6, right? Oh, wait a minute. What's inside here? That's what's going to go in here. Because think about it. If you square this, you get 36, right? If we take the square root, that's what we put in here, we're going to still use that same number. So that's the square of the binomial right there. Okay, let's do another one. I need to replace c. So x squared plus 3x. I'm going to add in half of 3. I'm going to leave it as a fraction. Squared. That's half of 3. 3 halves. Okay? I told you it's long, so be patient. All right, now I got to write it as a perfect square trinomial. So x squared plus 3x plus, what's 3 halves times 3 halves? Equals what? 9/4. So that equals 9/4. There's my perfect square trinomial. Now if I were to factor that, I have to take the square root of 9/4, which is what? 3 halves. So all I have to do is write what's inside there. That's what goes there. That's the beauty of creating the perfect square trinomial. It's really easy to write it as a square of a binomial. Real easy. Okay, see, this number and this number are going to be the same. All right, you try this one, just like I did this one. You try this one. Same way. Leave it as a fraction. Do the same process. Rewrite the following equations by completing the square, which is what we did up here. Remember, whatever value you add to the left side of the equation, you must also add to the right side. You have to keep an equation balanced. It's like when you're solving an equation. If you subtract 4 from the left side, you have to do it from the other side, correct? If you add 2, you have to add 2. It's the same thing here. So, notice it's set up like this. Well, I want to make room so I can add a new c. So, I'm going to put a space there. I'm going to make room so I can add a new c. So now I'm going to add in half of my b. What's half of negative 16? What? Negative 8. Negative 8 squared. Half of my b. And the problem is, though, if I add this here, I have to add the same thing over here or my equation does not stay balanced. Okay, so now I'm just going to simplify it a little bit. All this is asking me to is rewrite the following equations by completing the squares. So I'm just going to make this a little bit prettier. X squared minus 16x plus, what's negative 8 squared? 64 plus, equals 15 plus 64. Does anybody know what that is? 15 plus 64. It's 79. So this is really all they're asking me to do here. Rewriting it by completing the square, which we did. We made a perfect square trinomial here. It's sort of like an intermediate step to what you're going to have to do at the end. Okay? So this one here also, let's do this one. First I'm going to make room. Equals 3. I'm making room. I'm going to add in my new c, which is half of 2 plus 1 squared plus 1 squared. You got to add it to both sides. Now I'm not writing it as a square of a binomial. I'm just making it prettier. So this, what's 1 squared? 3 plus 1. 4. Okay? That's all.
So you just like simplify it?
Just for this. This is like the intermediate step, okay? All right, we're going to do a couple more because there's fractions, of course. All right, same thing here. We're rewriting. That's all we're doing is rewriting. So I'm going to write x squared minus 5x, leave a space, and put 3/4. This one has fractions, so it's a little different. So you're going to want to write it down. So now I'm going to add in half of 5, which I know is 2.5, negative 2.5, but I'm going to keep it as a fraction. Negative 5 halves squared. Half of 5. So I'm also adding that same amount here. Oh, you love fractions, don't you? As a side note, what's negative 5 halves times negative 5 halves? What's negative 5 halves times negative 5 halves? 25 over 4. That's what that equals. 25 over 4. So let's keep that in mind. So what I'm really adding here is 25 over 4. That's really what I'm adding to that side. So let's finish this now. Okay, just to rewrite it, I have x squared minus 5x plus, we said this was 25 over 4, equals, adding fractions, you can all do it. If I have 3/4 plus 25/4, how many fourths do I have? 28/4, oh, equals what? 7. This is 28/4, which actually equals 7. And then I'm done with that. Okay? Now, we won't do that last one here, but you should have ended up with all perfect square trinomials on the left side of the above equations, and we did. This is a perfect square. That's a perfect square. 1 is a perfect square. We did. Okay? All right, now we're going to do the grand finale. I'm going to show you how you're going to use this to solve. So we're kind of putting everything together. All right. So solve by completing the square. Round your solutions to the nearest hundredths if necessary. So the first thing I'm going to do is make room for my new c. Make room for my new c. So I'm adding in half of negative 2, which is what? What's negative half of negative 2? So negative 1 squared I'm adding in. Plus negative 1 squared. Both sides. Alrighty. Then I'm not doing the rewriting because I don't need to. Just like Chuck said, hey, why do we have to do that middle step? We really don't. If you remember here, see, I went from here to here by using that same number. Here to here by using that same number. Here to here, correct? So that's the step I want to do now. I want to rewrite this as x minus 1 squared. And I got the minus 1 from right here. You see it? We'll do more, don't worry. What's 3 plus negative 1 squared? 4, correct? Oh, look at that! Is that not just like what you were doing last night for homework? See? Same thing. So now I can solve this by taking the square root of both sides. And I get x minus 1 equals plus or minus 2. So x minus 1 equals 2. X minus 1 equals negative 2. X equals 3. X equals negative 1. We got 2 solutions here. So instead of factoring, we're completing the square. Cool? Let's try another one. All right, I'm going to add some space. Add some space so I can add in a new c, make it a perfect square trinomial. So I'm adding in half of b, which is 5 squared. Adding, same thing on this side. All right, you guys try and finish that, but don't go to decimals. I'll show you. Rewrite that with the square of the binomial. Rewrite that. Hopefully you wrote this. M plus 5 squared equals negative 8 plus 25, which is what? 17, right? Yes? What's the next step? Square root both sides. Now here's where I'm going to do it a little different. I'm not going to go to decimal form because the worksheet you're having today doesn't all go to decimal form. So it's going to look like this. Plus or minus the square root of 17. Instead of taking the decimal, we're just writing it like that. But then I have to subtract 5 from both sides. And you get m equals negative 5 plus or minus 17. And that's how you can leave your answer. The only thing different was we just didn't find the decimal form of this, and we didn't actually add them, subtract them, we just wrote it. Okay? Let me see what else I got to do here. This one is the same, so we're going to move on and do this one right here. Stop a second and look. What can I do to this to make it easier to myself before I even start? What do you think? Look at all those numbers. We would normally start that, but before that I want to do something else. I hear it. What? Divide by 3. They all can be divided by 3. So let's do that. I'm going to divide the whole thing by 3, and it just is going to give me some prettier numbers to work with. That's it. Okay, now I can do completing the square. So, what's the first thing now that I got to do? Yeah, I got to move that c to the other side. So g squared minus 8g, leave yourself some room to add in a new c and make it a perfect square trinomial. What are you adding on now? We're going to add on half of b, which is negative 4 squared. Add on half of b, which is negative 4 squared. All right, what's this left side become? This becomes g minus 4 squared. Because it's the same as what's inside there. And then negative 9 plus 16. Anybody know what that is? Negative 9 plus 16. What would it be? 7, right? 7. Yeah. If you don't know, you can do it on your calculator. Negative 9 plus 16. It's like 16 take away 9. Alrighty. Now let's do this in decimal form. Because we can. It doesn't make a difference. G minus 4 equals, let's find the square root of 7 on the calculator. I haven't done it yet, so. It would be 2.6565, right? 2.65 to the hundredths. Plus or minus 2.65. So I have g minus 4 equals positive 2.65 and g minus 4 equals negative 2.65. And you add 4 to both sides, 6.65 for this one. And then you add 4 to this side. I'm just going to do it in my head. It's 1.35. So, completing the square. You learned it.